Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So while I was making my Flash Arrow Q&A for this week, they just announced a Flash Arrow spin-off show. It's going to be a team-up show starring Brandon Routh as Ray Palmer, Katie Lotz, don't even get me started on that, and Victor Garber. They just announced it. They didn't say when it's going to premiere or where they're going to try and premiere it, because obviously they have to make a pilot first. There are so many unanswered questions right now, so hopefully they'll make some more announcements in the next couple of weeks. For those that are familiar with them, it's Berlanti Productions. It's the same group of people that make Arrow and The Flash, as well as the new Supergirl show. It's all the same people. So behind the scenes, the team is the same. It's just a question of which actors they're going to bring on the show. So going down the cast list, they have the Atom, they have Victor Garber. They didn't announce Robbie Amell, so I don't know if that means that Firestorm is going on the show, or if it's just going to be Victor Garber, not as Firestorm. Or it's possible that Victor Garber could leave the Firestorm Matrix and Jason Rusch could join it on The Flash. In the comics right now, in the New 52 universe, Jason Rusch and Ronnie Raymond are both part of Firestorm, so they could be changing the Firestorm character. Katie Lotz is the really big question mark, because I don't know if they're going to bring her back as Black Canary, or if she's going to be a whole new character. The other option is they could give her like a Jason Todd type storyline, where first she's this one character, dies, comes back from the dead, and turns into this twisted anti-hero. Katie Lotz, Lazarus Pit, Red Hood, no idea what's going on there. And also, I just forgot to mention, Leonard Snart, Captain Cold, he's also going to be part of the show. So that means that they'll probably have some of the other rogues to play with too. What I'm choosing to call this right now is Justice Society of Flaro. I have no idea what the dynamic would be, but I'm really excited about the idea. Hopefully, they'll have a pilot to show us at Comic-Con. That'd be really awesome. That's not very realistic for them to turn a pilot around that fast between now and the beginning of July, but they do have all the main actors under contract already, so it's basically like a bunch of friends all getting together to make another show. So it's a little bit easier than trying to bring a bunch of new people together for the first time. This is like the next step towards TV Justice League, so I'm totally going to do another bonus video just about this, but because I already have all my Arrow questions, I'm just going to include them at the end of this. The really cool thing that Mark Guggenheim and the other producers said at a recent Q&A is that they're going to be delving into the history of the League of Assassins. So over like the next 8 episodes, well, maybe not 8 because of the finale, but like the next 6 episodes, we'll learn more about the history of the League. So I think that's going to be really cool. That's all going to tie in with what's going on between Ra's al Ghul and Oliver right now, the offer that was made, as well as Nyssa and the other characters too. One of the other really big things they said is that they're going to deal with the consequences of some of the big decisions that the characters have made, which I think is really good. It's never a good thing when they just drop storylines, but characters make very big decisions, like Laurel Lance made some very questionable decisions that they're going to address with Quentin's character later this season. The same thing is going to happen with Oliver and everyone else. So if you ever saw like a big WTF and never saw them follow up on that, don't worry. That's really where Mark Guggenheim and Andrew Kreisberg come in. I know Andrew Kreisberg is mostly working on The Flash right now, but he's still really involved with what's going on Arrow. It's their job to make sure that none of the characters get lost. So Thea makes a bunch of questionable decisions. It's their job to make sure that that goes somewhere. They did tease that some really cool stuff is going to be happening with Thea. It's not going to be like her acting out. I know this episode kind of seemed like she was just acting on impulse. They said that at a certain point, she'll have a real plan of her own that she's going to try and bring to fruition, like her own undertaking, quote unquote. So just real quick, careful for spoilers if you haven't seen the episode yet, because we have to start getting into specific moments. So let's talk about Merlin real quick. Of all the things that could go wrong this season on Arrow, I feel like his character is the point of failure right now. It seems like what's going on with everyone else is just a logical extension of the decisions they've made this season. Merlin is the one that's a little confusing to follow. He wanted to be with his daughter, but there's a price on his head, so he threw her under the bus to try and get Oliver to help him out. It gets really complicated when you try to follow it. So if there's anything I'm worried about, it's what's going on with Merlin's character. Like, where is he going to go from here? That doesn't mean that all the other characters are totally safe from narrative issues, but I feel like Merlin's character is the one we need to worry about the most. So here we go, on to questions. Tim Lee asks, do you think that Ray Palmer is flying at the end of the episode to save Oliver and Diggle? No, actually what he's doing is just going out to test the suit. He's not doing anything specific. He's probably maybe going to try and do some rescue, like Black Canary when she went out for the first time. The showrunners were pretty clear that he's going to do his own thing. He's not going to be part of Team Arrow anytime soon. They said episode 17 is going to be a big confrontation between the Arrow and the Atom. They didn't say Oliver Queen and Ray Palmer. Ray Palmer doesn't know who Team Arrow is. He doesn't know that Felicity is working with the Arrow. They didn't say when he's going to find out, but I think that'll happen before the finale. Eventually, they have to be on the same page. The really cool thing they said, though, is that Oliver is totally not going to be on board with the way Ray Palmer fights crime, or at least the Arrow. The Arrow is not going to be down with the Atom. It's really hard to know what that's going to look like because we haven't seen the Atom fight crime yet. We've just seen him put the suit on and fly around. So fingers crossed we actually see him try to test the suit out in live combat in episode 16. Next question, Vanquish asks, how come Ra's al Ghul needs Oliver to take his place? Does the pit have a limit or something? I think they're going to explain that in the next episode. We're going to learn more about what's going on inside Ra's al Ghul's head. They said that they're going to address why he chose Oliver and not Nyssa. Mark Guggenheim said that their version of Ra's al Ghul is going to be more faithful to the comics than we've ever seen on TV before. One, that means we all need to read a bunch more Ra's al Ghul comics. And two, yes, I think there are limitations to the Lazarus Pit. He just can't keep using it forever and ever. That was actually one of the things that they refused to talk about, was the Lazarus Pit and how it works on Arrow itself. If it were not critical to the plot, I think they totally would have explained it. So because they didn't explain it, I think, yes, the Lazarus Pit's going to be a big part of this season. Next question, Lee asks, we still don't know what Malcolm's endgame is. Why did he have Thea kill Sarah in the first place? What's going to happen to Dig? So I'm just going to focus on the Merlin stuff. I think what's going to happen is he's trying to escape with his life and his daughter. When I say his daughter, I mean his relationship with his daughter. He wants to keep that intact. He's lost everything, so I think he's just hanging on to that. He's going to do whatever he thinks he needs to do to keep Thea with him, to keep her close. He's all about manipulating people, so I think he's going to continue to manipulate Oliver, Nyssa, and Thea to try and keep Thea close. The interesting wrinkle in all this is that now Oliver is in line to take the place of Ra's al Ghul, whether or not he chooses to accept the offer. They said that Merlin's going to be a big part of explaining that. Right now, Merlin is the League expert, so if Oliver has questions about what's going on, he's going to ask Merlin. It sounds like Merlin's going to try and manipulate Oliver's position with Ra's al Ghul to try and get away with his life. Next question, Sajal asks, if the whole aim is to get to Justice League, then where are Batman and Superman? So if you're asking about like the movies and all these characters, no, that's not the goal. I mean, the goal of Arrow is to tell the story of how Oliver became the Green Arrow. And right now he's still the Arrow. So it's still kind of a prequel series. I know there's always a lot of confusion about what's going on with the micro, macro stories. Macro being integration with the movies and the other big Justice League characters. The micro stuff, the most important stuff, is what's going on with the characters that were cast on Arrow. So any of the stories that the producers choose to tell are really in service of those Arrow characters. They want the show to be able to stand on its own. Like, they don't want it to have to depend on what's going on in the larger DC universe. I know that's not what a lot of people want to hear. Like, they want it to be integrated, but all the DC TV shows, like The Flash, Arrow, all the new stuff that's going to happen if they get an Adam spinoff, they'll all be designed so that they can live by themselves, even though they will cross over a little bit. So if there ever is like a Justice League moment on Arrow, it'd be Arrow's version of that. So we wouldn't see Superman or Batman. Best case scenario, I think they'd be able to mention those characters. Like they say, a billionaire in Gotham and an alien in Metropolis. Think of it as like Justice Society of Arrow. So moving on to the next question. Keo Clips asks, I'm surprised you didn't mention Thea letting Nyssa out, admitting that she killed Sarah, and telling her to take vengeance. Yeah, that was definitely a WTF moment to leave on, but, based on the parallels, there's no way she was going to kill Thea. I think she's mostly intrigued. There were actually a lot of Team Arrow moments that did not involve the Arrow. Like you had Laurel Thea scenes, Laurel Nyssa scenes, so I'm really interested to see how they develop some of these female character relationships. Episode 16 is called An Offer, and based on the synopsis, it says that Nyssa makes an offer to Laurel. Obviously, we have no idea what that offer is, but I think it involves the League of Assassins and something with Sarah. I think what Nyssa's going to do is try to find a way to regain her status as heir to Ra's al Ghul, heir to the League of Assassins, help Black Canary, help Laurel connect with Sarah more, and help Thea get her father back, all while at the same time punishing Merlin for what he did. I know it sounds a little complicated, but best case scenario, Nyssa does something so that all those women, all those female characters, get what they want. Ultimately, what I'd like to see is Katrina Law become a bigger part of the show. That would mean a whole lot more Nyssa, and I think that the producers are committed to that, but only in an organic way, only in so much that it makes sense with the story that they're trying to tell. Just remember that moment with Ra's al Ghul and Oliver, though. No, I'm not going to kill you, Mr. Queen. I'm here to make you an offer. I think it's going to be a similar thing with Nyssa. But moving on to the next question. Big Lebowski asks, shouldn't the producers be concerned about the Iron Man comparison the Atom armor has brought? Especially with Avengers Age of Ultron just 2 months away, and the Batman comparison with the Ra's al Ghul storyline. Well, I mean, you have to remember that most of the people that watch this show aren't familiar with the Batman stuff, so that's not really an issue. As for the Iron Man stuff, it's kind of an issue. There are a number of characters in the DC universe that wear exoskeleton suits. There's no way you could do that on TV without being compared to other characters that wear armor suits like that. So because Iron Man's so popular, there's literally nothing you could do that would avoid comparisons to Iron Man. Like, there's no way around it. They did say that they tried to design the suit so that it has a lot more practical elements. Because the Iron Man suit is mostly CG, it relies on a lot of CG for all those moving parts. I think we'll learn more about that as he actually uses it to fight crime. So episodes 16, 17, 18, we'll learn a lot more about that. Next question, Nick Wong asks, in the flashbacks, why did Amanda Waller send Argus men to kill Oliver and Maceo's family? So there's actually like a big storyline that's going to involve that Creature Commandos character, the new character we met, the Beastmaster. Presumably, they'll explain that in the next episode. Here's the weird thing. They said a long time ago, whenever they cast the character, that he was going to be part of a really big arc. But in this episode, he was releasing Oliver. He's like, okay, your job's done. You can go home now. Waller isn't vindictive. She wouldn't come after Oliver and Maceo's family unless they did something really terrible. Odds are right now, though, it's either someone connected to China White that's attacking them, or it's that military character doing something shady. He's giving off like a very General Eiling vibe, and as we know, Clancy Brown's character, definitely an antagonist, even though he's not outright evil. Next question, Hater asks, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing your name, sorry. Could you explain how the Lazarus Pit works? Okay, so there's actually, in the comics, it's been used a number of different ways. Mostly, it revives the recently deceased people. It regenerates their bodies. The different versions they've used in the comics just involve the duration that people have been dead. I think the longest that someone has gone and still been able to use the Lazarus Pit is a full year. Usually the twist is that the longer you've been dead, the crazier you go when you get resurrected. That's just a writer's device to keep the Lazarus Pit from becoming too powerful. Like I said earlier, the producers dodged a lot of Lazarus Pit questions, so whatever Arrow's version of the Lazarus Pit is going to be, I think we won't find out for a couple more episodes. Thank you so much, though, everyone that submitted questions. These are always a ton of fun to do. I think the thing I'm most excited about on Arrow is to see the history of the League of Assassins told on screen. They said that there's a big disconnect between what the League was created to do and what people think of it nowadays. But Arrow's coming back on March 18th. It's the same week that The Flash comes back. So I'll just be doing bonus videos in the next couple weeks while they're on break. Be sure to subscribe to get all those videos. If there's any specific bonus video you want me to do, feel free to make requests. My next video is going to be a Flash video. While you guys wait for that, you can click here to catch up on Arrow, and you can click here to catch up on The Flash. Thank you so much for watching. So let's all high five. I'll see you guys tonight.